Welcome to the Future of Payroll and Workforce Management Insights by HR.com, your go-to resource for insights into payroll and workforce management. From navigating compliance and technology trends to exploring the latest in global payroll solutions, we're here to keep you ahead of the curve. Join us as we dive into the forces reshaping payroll and share practical strategies to optimize your workforce management. Let's get started. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Future of Payroll and Workforce Management, a podcast here at HR.com, where I am your host. My name is Brent Skinner. I do several things at HR.com, but I'm not going to bore you all with that. Instead, I'm going to say hello to my guest today, Mary Kay Kirgis. Hello.
Hi, Brent. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. And how are you?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you've actually been a guest of mine on a podcast, a different podcast than this one several years ago, and so it was kind of cool when I was talking to the folks at isolved, and they mentioned you, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute, I know that name. Oh, cool."
Yep, I've been around for a while.
So have I.
I call that being seasoned.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. So now you are HR director at Guttenberg Municipal Hospital and Clinics, and we're going to get into your iSolved use there and just what HR was like when you joined and what it's like now, a bunch of stuff. But first, as I like to ask all my guests, what got you into HR? What's your sort of what gets you going every day when it comes to the world of work?
Well, I would say I stumbled into HR through a temporary position, actually. God, it was 12 years ago. It's hard to believe. So I took a temp position as an employee benefit specialist at a large hospital here in Iowa. And after that, I kind of fell in love with the employee benefits portion. But I also had experience over my long career in both HR and other areas is bad HR. And I decided I wanted
Mm.
to expand my knowledge and understanding of what HR is and try to do it better and try to do the things that I wish would have been done when I was on the other end of it.
There is a lot of bad HR out there,
There can
and
be, yes.
yes, and it's not always the HR people's fault either. It's just, it can be just it's a really difficult job. And that actually might be a great segue here. So let me just kind of set the stage for folks here, because what's interesting is that when you and I spoke a while back on that other podcast, um, you were at a place called, I think, Crescent Community Health, and you had inherited using the iSolve system. They already had iSolved in place. And when you joined, you inherited it and you said, "Hey, this is a great system." That's what I recall. And then, so you've moved from there to Guttenberg, and iSolved played a role in that decision. Can you kind of, just clue our audience into what was going on there?
Sure. Actually, I'll kind of walk you through the short version of it. So when I went to Crescent, they were just they had had ISOL for 2 years at that point, but they only did payroll, period. So when I came in and I inherited it, I actually built that system from the ground up for the most part,
Hmm.
except for the
Okay.
payroll part. Um, when I was looking for a different position, I decided to start looking. One of the things I was looking at is what payroll systems that those companies were using. And when I saw that Guttenberg was using iSolve, it made me even more interested in the position than I originally was, and made me apply for the job. And it was, they always say you can never go home, but actually, I'm from here. I left for 35 years and now I'm back. So it's, my parents live, 10 miles, 12 miles up the road. I have family all over here. It was just, I guess you say it was meant to be at the time, but the main reason I took the job was because they used iSolved.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great story, and congratulations on being able to go home. I mean, that's awesome. Um, What is it about isolved payroll that, that sort of draws you?
It's actually, I think iSolve is very easy to use. It's user friendly. Actually, one of the reasons I loved working with iSolved is their customer service. As they say, nothing, no platform is ever perfect, but if you don't have good customer service behind you, peop people aren't gonna stick around, and I have not had an experience with them where if something goes wrong, that they don't do everything they can to fix it.
That's big, because, it kind of runs a gamut in this space, having myself observed. I have never run payroll myself. I've never actually done any HR stuff myself. I'm just one of these guys who lurks around payroll and HR and watches. I've been a journalist and an industry analyst and all these kinds of things. But one thing that I've heard is that, that's not always the case with, there's some
Oh,
situations where yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've, worked with several other platforms before, and 2 off the top of my head, I'm not gonna name them, but 2 were I mean, their customer service was awful, and it was, to the point at one place that the, our administrator, HR administrator, knew more about the platform than their own customer service people.
Wow.
So, when we had issues and we were needing fixes, our HR administrator, systems administrator would tell that company how to fix it. So, I mean, that's called really bad customer service.
I'm laughing. I'm thinking, so some of these vendors might want to look into hiring, some of their users for their customer service, teams.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's also the thing is, uh, I have experience not just with HR systems, but with larger companies, is eventually they start to rest on their laurels. And one of the and they just use their name to get people in. They're the biggest, they're supposedly the best, all this other stuff. The one thing I've always really liked with iSolved is they never act too big. They treat all their customers, no matter how big or how small they are, they treat all their customers the same and with the same respect. Because we're not a big company. I have um 200 people here. It's not that big. And we're in a really small rural area in northeast Iowa. So it's not like we're big city or anything like that. But they still treat me with the same respect and the same um that I'm important as a customer as they do any other customer. And that
yeah.
that means a lot to the customer.
You know what? Especially in a job like HR where it can get a little bit lonely sometimes, or just or kind of maybe maybe sometimes lonely, but also very sort of stressful, right? And to have someone
Yeah.
on your vendor team that'll yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's trust me, I've had some situations in the past few weeks that have been quite stressful, but it's always good to, like I said, it's always good to know that if I have an issue, I know there's a team at iSolve that will be willing to help me and find the solution.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about what it was like at Guttenberg when you joined HR-wise with the system and otherwise.
Sure. So Guttenberg had most of the systems with iSolve, so they had benefit administration, Cobra, payroll timekeeping, um, applicant tracking system. They had most of the systems, but they weren't utilizing them to the best of their ability. And for example, payroll. Every payroll, when I started, I saw my HR generalist get a stack of these little 4x6 screen sheets. I mean a stack. I mean a stack. And she would have to go through this. And what those were all the punch changes to time cards.
Wow.
So they weren't using the missing punch system within isolved to do missing punches or change punches or anything like that. They were using these green sheets, and my HR generalist had to do it for 150 people instead of each person doing their own and having the approval process run the way it was. Within 30 days, I had it down to now our green sheets are less than 20,
Mhm.
just because of certain specific changes that need to be made.
That's that's kinda interesting, let's just think about that for a second. So, I mean, obviously, that's a huge time saving, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hours. Hours.
Yeah. And and that's one of the things that's so, encouraging today about HR and the sort of the software that's available, to HR teams is that, HR has so long been sort of this cost center thing, it's, heavy administrative work, which can be quite, just taxing to do, right? And
Right.
what what is it like when you're able to free up that kind of time for your people? What are you able to turn your attention to?
Well, we could start focusing more on making our employees' um, experience here more fulfilling. I mean, I don't have to focus on making sure, we have 2,000 pieces of paper processed for payroll every 2 weeks. Now I can focus on, do we have the right benefits for our employees? Are we providing the flexibility to our employees for the jobs that they have? Am I looking at opportunities for our employees to grow and develop their skills? Those are the types of things that I can focus on now. And I have assistance from my HR generalist where she can actually do those types, help me with those types of things instead of spending all of her 2 weeks processing stuff so payroll goes right.
And
So,
and 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 it gives her an opportunity, yeah, an opportunity to grow in her career and really become strategic. Now I understand that this is obviously a podcast about payroll and workforce management, but we touch on recruiting sometimes, and I know that there was from what I understand, you folks did some stuff around some changes around the recruiting process and there at Guttenberg, and iSolve was involved in some way, correct?
oh yeah. So I solved added an AI feature, which I'm sure by now most of the applicant tracking systems out there have. But one of the AI features is helping me write the posting because I was having to, write or rewrite these postings every time we posted to make sure they're up to date and they carried the most current information. That was taking me, I would say, 45 minutes a job posting. On average, I'd be posting 2 to 3 jobs a week, depending. Sometimes I get a reprieve, but not very often. But now I can do a job posting from beginning to end, probably in 10 minutes, because AI will write the posting for me. So I don't have to spend as much time trying to think of the words and all this other stuff. I can spend more time focusing on how can we use this system more efficient.
What's interesting too is that and I'm familiar with this capability. I learned about it a couple years ago, and so it's really interesting to hear somebody's experience in using it. Um, and there's all sorts of discussion around what's a good job description, what's a poorly written job description, all this kind of stuff. Um, what has your experience been in terms of, its effectiveness, the impact of the actual job descriptions that it's putting together?
Well, it actually these aren't so much job descriptions; they're more job postings.
Okay.
So they don't get like a full job description where it lists out every single duty that you're going to have. It's a more of a summarization. It gives it more in a story to the potential candidate instead of, I'm searching for this. Because if you go out to Indeed or ZipRecruiter or wherever, and you start searching, some of those ads can get really long
Uh,
because they just put the full job description in. This is, like I said, it's more of a story. It tells, what we're looking for and around uh, the basics of the job. It talks about the basics of the place, what Guttenberg Hospital is, what the criteria is to come here. And I instead of like a 10 paragraph thing, it's like 4.
mhm.
So it makes it a little bit more compact. But I think in my experience, because we seem to get some pretty good candidates out of it, is gives the information so they don't have to spend 30 minutes reading through a job posting.
Right, right. It's more digestible, more
Yep.
easily skimmable, and probably a little bit more inviting too, because what I've read is that some of those job descriptions that list everything, it can dissuade people who may otherwise be qualified because they just think, oh, I can't, I don't know all of those things. They
Right.
need somebody who can do all of those things, when that's not necessarily always the case. Um, let's go back to some of the other sort of iSolve functionality that you may have sort of, implemented or deployed since joining that's helped to save some time.
So actually, we just started last July. We just started Share and Perform.
Okay.
Um, so because that was well, I had to. I'm sneaky, so we were on a paper process for our performance management, and I was not pleased with that. So what I did is I pushed our managers to iSolve's online performance management tool that was within their HCM. So it was their free tool. And it's not very, while it does the job, it's just not real great. And I understand they were giving people the bare minimum just so they had something, but I did it so people would kind of feel the pain of what that is. It was better than the paper. Let me put it that way. Better than the paper, but not great. So when I demoed out Share and Perform, they're like, "Oh, yay, let's do that." And it has been so easy to get them to jump on board.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. I believe it. And that is nothing wrong with being sneaky. If
No,
everybody's happy in the end, if everyone's happy in
you
the
got
end,
well,
who
you got to show them. You got to show them the why. Why do I want to spend the money to go onto this platform? What is the benefit? And I showed them, okay, you have the paper, you have the semi-painful iSolved HCM process, then you got this, and it's so much easier. Now, has there been a few pain points with it? Of course, but it is way easier, and um, I don't know. I don't know what I would do without it because it's so nice to have the ability for things to cross function, and I don't have to have 10,000 different passwords to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing, single sign on and all this kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, what are some of the things you have planned for the future?
Well, fingers crossed. Again, trying to show them the pain before the good stuff. Is I want to get the learning management learning grow
Mm.
um added hopefully next fiscal year. But that might be a little harder. Again, it's trying to show the benefits and the why. But if we're gonna really push here for learning development and professional development of our employees, I need a learning management system that actually provides learning,
Mm.
especially professional development learning, because our current system, while it does what we need it to do compliance wise, it has no professional development ability unless I build it myself. and the building of courses myself within it is super painful. So I'm hoping upon hope that if it's not this year, it'll be next year.
Well, you know what? It would make sense, just from my, if I add my perspective here, now that you're saving and continuing to find more time savings, it makes sense for the HR department to pivot into championing learning and this sort of
Yep.
thing for the
One of the
organization.
things I've learned that helps is like with share and perform. One of the ways I was able to really get people to buy into it is break it down not only in you don't have to go through this painful process anymore, but it costs $75 a person.
Right.
Is break it down into dollars. So you're basically telling $75 per person per year for us to do this.
That's that's a drop in the bucket with
Yeah, when
all
you
that.
think about it,
Yeah, with all that
especially the
potential.
amount of time that they were saving by not having to do it in paper.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Fascinating stuff. It's really cool to talk with somebody that somebody I've spoken with in the past anyway. That's cool. But also to hear how somebody had a system at a previous in a previous role and wanted that same system as they moved on in their career to another employer. And this has just been a really great story to share with the audience. And I want to thank you, Mary Kay, so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. And if I could say anything to HR professionals out there is don't forget to put the human back into HR
Oh,
because it is so very important and people lose sight of it.
all the more important today, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Thank you so much, Mary Kay.
Yep. You have a great day, Brent.
Thanks for tuning in to the Future of Workforce Management and Payroll Insights by HR.com. We hope today's episode brought you valuable insights and fresh perspectives on the future of payroll and workforce management. Be sure to check out more episodes and explore resources at HR.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep innovating and making a difference in the world of payroll and workforce management.